I'm Charlie Johnson with Maverick Boat Company. Today we're with Scott Deal, President and CEO of Maverick, and we're going to be going through our new Pathfinder 24 TRS. Scott has been fishing the boat the last couple weeks and has some really interesting things to say about it.
Yeah, I have been fishing the boat. It's good to see you this morning, bud. It's a real versatile platform for a lot of the kind of fishing that I do. I live here in Vero Beach, Florida. It's on the East Coast, and every place has got its own particular idiosyncrasies in the fishery, and I think the East Coast of Florida has got some of the most versatile fisheries that we have in the whole country. And we built this boat to be able to take advantage of all of the fish that we have here and be able to spend a day doing a variety of different things. I might get up in the morning early and catch tarpon, and then run offshore, catch kingfish, run offshore further possibly and catch sailfish, and then come back in and catch snook, trout, and redfish in the river on the way home. This boat allows me to do all that in most of the weather conditions, and I'd like to show you how we accomplish that, if you'll go with me here to the bow. I'll start at the bow of the boat. Obviously this is a trolling motor. It's essential for fishing inshore, and we also use them on the beach for tarpon and around buoys and things like that. This is our anchor locker. It's plenty big for any amount of road you want to carry. Probably 300 feet would fit in there, along with chain and your anchor. And what's unique to the Pathfinders in general, on the tournament edition ones and on the 24 TRS, is this forward live well. We'll talk more about live wells in detail on our live well videos. This is intended primarily to be a pitch well, not a full live well that you would fill with a lot of baits, but a well where you would transfer some baits from the main wells in the back of the boat up here. So when you're fishing a shoreline, fishing docks, you don't have to run back to the back of the boat every time you need to rebait. This is a dry storage box. This is where I particularly put my PFDs, Charlie. You could put any manner of things in here. It's giant, absolutely giant. I've got bumpers, PFDs, everything in here, and by no means anywhere close to filling it up. Aft of that, we have the step up, and I really like the step up because it allows me to have full access to the deck without having to really strain, and also makes this whole fishing area wider. Sometimes I take my kids out with me, and they're not really comfortable being up on the very, very front of the boat if there's any swell action or wave action or boat wake, so they might like to be here. A little bit more adventuresome go up here. This also provides a nice lip for your fly line, so when I'm fishing up here for tarpon with a fly rod, I can strip my fly line down here. There's nothing to hang up. My fly line's less likely to blow out of the boat. Not an issue for everybody, but like I said, I like to do a variety of different types of fishing, including fly fishing. But I don't just fly fish. And in here you'll see I've got my cast net buckets. I've got my 1/4 inch cast net that I use for live chum offshore to catch bonita and things like that on fly, or even sailfish come in sometimes, and dolphin and those. I've got my 3/8 net for the larger pilchards, thread fins, things that we get both inshore and offshore. A lot of my tackling. I also have a minnow net in here for what they call in the Keys mahua, which we have this time of year in the summer off the beach here as well. On either side of this large locker, which I use as cast nets, but it's also insulated and could be a fish box if you choose to, we've got 2 giant rod boxes. These have gas shocks, which holds the lid up so you can't drop the lid on your rod and accidentally break it while you're loading it. I've got a couple rods in here, one with a topwater plug and one that's just rigged for bait fishing, but you can put a whole bunch of rods in here. I said I like to do a variety of things. I also have my kite in here. I keep it in here. I have miscellaneous bags of general stuff, and I do the same thing on the other side. I don't leave my rods in here locked just because of the type fishing I do, but these are lockable. So if you're traveling and you go to a restaurant early in the morning or after you fish and you're worried about getting your gear stolen, you just put it in the rod boxes, lock them up, and you're good to go. We have a cooler here, as you can see. This is where I put my drinks. Got another cooler in the back that's for the dead fish after we gaff them and put them in there. And it's obviously a lot bigger, but this acts as a seat, obviously. You can fit 2 people here pretty comfortably. Got a nice cushion, nice backrest. And what I really like about the backrest is the fact that it gives me multiple benefits. One is it gives me full access inside my console, which allows me to service whatever I put in there very easily. Could be my batteries, I could put all manner of dry goods in there, towels, a beach bag. But it also gives me access to all my rigging stuff. So if I get bitten off by a fish or broken off, or I want to change or need to switch from 40 to 80-pound fluorocarbon, it's right here. I just come right here, I grab what I need, take it out, go back to the bow fishing, and I don't have to go opening a bunch of lockers and digging things out. It means I don't have to carry a big tackle bag with everything I own. The stuff that I need is strategically placed right here inside the console. Now, this particular 24 has a T-top. Not everybody wants a T-top, and certainly there are advantages and disadvantages to T-tops like everything else in life. I like the T-top. I call it my portable cloud. It gets really hot here in the summer, especially this time of year, and for me, the benefits outweigh the liabilities. I can still fly fish with this. I just need to be a little judicious about how I do it, and I can't throw dead at 12 o'clock unless I sidecast first. Not a big deal by any means. I mentioned that I do fly fish, and of course that's not of interest to everybody, but what is interesting are these under-gunnel rod holders right here. This boat has covering boards, unlike most of the bay boats that are built on the market, and they also have tubes, much like a flats boat would, to hold fly rods if you were bonefish or tarpon fishing. Of course, this is not a bonefish boat, but I like to leave the dock with a fly rod no matter what kind of fishing I'm doing, because I really don't know what opportunities might present themselves. This is a 10 weight with a small minnow fly, and this time of year we have a lot of false albacore tuna. We call them bonita on the beach. They can be 12, 15 pounds. They're a heck of a lot of fun to catch on a fly rod. So I keep this 10 weight in here all the time. If they pop up, I can throw some live chum to them. If they're slashing the minnows like they were doing the last time I was out, you don't even need to do that. You can just get in their way and catch them on the fly rod. I also happen to have a 12 weight in here. And I always keep the 12 weight with a tarpon fly on it, because when we're running the beach, invariably you see that school of tarpon you're not prepared for. So I can whip this thing out and place it in front of them and hook a tarpon out of this boat without any drawbacks at all. The T-top's not an issue for me, and I like to have the rods. We also have the vertical console rods, which go through the T-top, as you can see right here. I don't have them on the other side because I think it'd be harder for you to see, but I've got 4 on each side, so that lets me put 8 rods. This is where I keep my lighter and medium spinning tackle. So if I'm going to be throwing crabs at permit, or I'm going to be throwing bait at tarpon or snook, they're going to be the rods that I keep in here. They're on either side, like I said, and allows me to keep 8 here. I've got 4 under the gunnels here where I have my fly rods. I can put 4 more back here in the leaning post. This backrest is removable, so that allows me potentially 4 more rods if I choose to take this out. And then I've got 4 up here. And like I said, I go offshore, near shore, inshore, catch big fish, little fish, sometimes no fish. But I typically put my heavier tackle up here where it's out of the way, but when I go offshore and I want to put some thread fins or whatever bait out for sailfish, the rods will come out of here, and I'll keep my lighter stuff down below. I'd like to come back to the helm station where you operate the boat from. Obviously we've got the T-top back here. We've talked about the T-top before. It's got the optional white powder coating, which I like. I think it looks good with the light blue contrast on the console on the hull sides, but of course you don't have to have powder coating. It's a personal choice, and it's an option. We offer it in several different colors, as we do the hull colors. One unique thing to the Pathfinders and the 24 TRS is this footrest arrangement, which I particularly like. We used to put all the access doors to the console in the aft section here, which was sort of the normal, this is how you do it way of doing things. But we found that by adding the front access, it makes it a lot more serviceable. It allowed us to put a footrest here, which makes it a much more comfortable place rather than having your feet down here or on a footrest behind you. So put my feet right here. I've got this great glove box. I don't know if you can see that. That's where I put my sunscreen and stuff like that, so I don't have to get into here. I can access it when I'm running. You know, great helm access. I've got my GPS right here and all of my switches. As you can see, nav lights, cockpit lights. Speaking of cockpit lights, you can't see them now, but they're blue LED lights throughout this, as well as compartment lights in the boat. And we also have blue LED or white LED combination down lighting. So at night, you get a nice, smooth, even light that doesn't affect your night vision very much, and it gives a great look. We also have spreader lights that are LED facing aft. You probably can't see them, but they're really bright. So when you really want to light up the night, you turn on your spreader lights. And this is a control for the jack plate. If you look aft, I've got the Yamaha 250 SHO. The jack plate's controlled right here with my fingers when I'm driving the boat. So I don't have to take my hands off. I can control the deck, the trim, and I also have my power pole right here. I can stick my power pole down, so if I'm on the flats and I need to stop, the boat from moving, I can pin it right in place, either here from the console or from the remote control that I have for my power pole. If you come back to the helm station, you'll see we have the binnacle control. That's what puts the boat in gear and accelerates it. And it's designed in such a way, or laid out in such a fashion, that when you're underway, you typically hold your binnacle by the throat, not by the top of the head. And this gives you access to your trim tab switches without having to let go of the binnacle. It's important because in rough water, you don't want to have to let go, grab, and actuate your trim tab switches. So we try to make this as an ergodynamic. You've got a great view of the electronics. I have a stereo here with the box inside the console. That's just a remote receiver that's completely waterproof. Our switches are lit. I don't know if you can tell that. You probably can't tell it, but at night the whole panel is backlit, so you can read all the switches at night. Don't have any issues there. What I'm sitting on is a leaning post. Within the leaning post is a storage area. I've got somebody's lunch here. I keep things like my remote control from a trolling motor, bug spray, sunscreen, any manner of stuff, tools, very dry, a fiberglass piece, not plastic like you see on a lot of boats, with a catch system to hold it in place. I use this a lot. I put my wallet in here, maybe my car keys, nicks and knacks. It's a great platform, great helm station, very comfortable, easily seats two. The helm's offset to starboard so someone else can sit here. Okay, well, and in addition to the footrest, you can see we have a nice knob on the steering wheel which allows you to turn more quickly. That can be really important docking in heavy current, and also when you're chasing a fish and he's trying to get under the boat. And we have a toe kick, not just aft, but all the way around the console, which gives more room in the cockpit. Not only does it feel like there's more room, there is more room. When you're running really fast in rough water, you can lock your toes underneath here to help you stay comfortable in the boat, feel more secure, lock yourself down so if you get launched on a wave, you don't go flying. So the toe kick allows us to put under gunnel or under lighting down here, so we light up the floor so nothing's shining back at your face when we use our blue LEDs I was speaking about earlier. Really nice feature. Okay, here we are in the back deck of the boat. As you can see, you've got 5 hatches back here and 1 in the cockpit sole. On my boat, I rigged this one with my batteries here. I've got 3 batteries because I've got a 36-volt trolling motor, and I've got the cranking battery in the console. Depending on how your boat weight and balance works out, depending on the equipment, the rigging, the engine, the jack plate, you can put the batteries either in the console or here and use this for storage. You might choose to put your cast nets in here and your batteries up forward. It's purely a function of how you rig the boat, what you want. You see I've got my fish cooler in here. It's on a slide. It slides right out, so it's easy to get to. And then we've got our main center live well. If you check on the website on the live well demo, you'll see a detailed explanation of why this is really one of the best live wells, if not the best live well on the market. Suffice it to say, it's big, has huge gallonage, huge water turnover, and is very efficient at getting rid of ammonia. On either side of the live well, we have these 2 flip-up bench seats. Now, I fish a lot in the boat, but I also have a family. And my kids use the boat as well, and they inner tube and wakeboard and do all sorts of things out of it. So it gives them seating much more like a sport boat. Also, on a long trip, it's very, very comfortable to sit down here, put your feet out. You've got this to hold on to. Very, very comfortable. Flip it back down again, and it's really no disadvantage to your fishing because these lids close on a hard fiberglass surface. They don't close cushion to cushion. And you'll see, if you look, I'm a pretty big guy, and when I walk on them, they don't depress. If it were a cushion to cushion closure, then it would mush down and you run the risk of stumbling and falling and hurting yourself. Other thing I want to show you before we get actually up on the deck is our scuppers in the back. These scuppers are in little sumps. I don't know if you can see them very clearly, but they're stainless steel and they go down below the deck, so they evacuate every last little bit of water in the boat. If you're looking at a bay boat and it has scuppers that go straight out the back, they typically, if you can look and see, typically they're drilled a little bit higher than the actual cockpit sole height, not always recessed down there, so they always hold water. They're not going to hold water in a boat show because boat shows are indoors and they've wiped the boats out. But if you look at a boat that's been on the water a while, you can tell. It's something to look for. Make sure that the boats evacuate the last bit of water off the cockpit sole. If you don't, you'll wish you had. So as we go further back, this is our access to rigging. In the second section of the live well demo, they talk about pumps, strainers, ball valves. I won't get into the details of that. If you click on the second live well demo, it'll show you all that. But I've got complete access to everything here. It's very safe. Should I have a problem with a pump where I'm sheared off a pump or it explodes for whatever reason, starts taking on water, I just reach down here, throw a ball valve, boom, change it out, clip and unclip, and I'm good to go. Same with my battery switches right here, my pumps for my saltwater and freshwater wash down are back here, everything right where you can get to it. So we talked a little bit about the T-top. As I said, I like to do a lot of different types of fishing, and oftentimes I'll fish early in the morning near shore or inshore, and then I'll head offshore and fish for sailfish or possibly for, we catch blackfin tuna, all types of stuff out of the Fort Pierce Inlet. I put my bigger rods up here so they're out of the way when I'm inshore fishing, and then like I said earlier, I'll use my tarpon rods and things like that. Maybe I'm throwing topwater plugs for trout. Those will be on the first floor, so to speak. Okay, like I said, I do some live chumming, so I like to have 2 wells. We have the third, of course, up front, which I call a pitch well. But I'll fill this up with small baits that are maybe, actually some of them are still in here, an inch or so long, inch to maybe 2.5 inches long, and take them to where I want the fish to be, throw them out, and bring the fish to the boat. Then we'll throw a fly or a jig or whatever it is that we want to do to catch them. Sometimes it also brings in a lot more activity overall, and we'll have a sailfish come in. We'll pitch a thread fin to the sailfish and catch him that way. I think I've seen Charlie do really well at that weekend before last. I think Charlie, you got 3, 4 sails? It was amazing to watch, and they all came right to the boat because of live chum. We have trolling rod holders, of course stainless, as you can see, with our Pathfinder logos on them. And all of our cleats are pull-ups, meaning they push down flush so they won't hang on your feet, they won't hang on fly line, they won't tear your toes off, they won't grab your bathing suit when you jump off the gunnel, all the things that H cleats do. So it's really the best hardware that we can find all the way through the boat. It's a nice versatile platform. For me, the kind of fishing I do, I find this 24 TRS is the right solution for me fishing on the east coast of Florida. We build a lot of different boats that do a lot of different things, and look at the whole line, see which one really suits your purposes best. Maybe it is this 24 TRS Pathfinder.